Now we come down to the main topography things, that is the physical features of Pakistan. Now, physical features of Pakistan are the mountains, plateaus, and plains and the desert regions. So we have the mountains, we have two plateau regions, the plain and the desert region, which we'll be talking about in further. Starting off with the northern mountains. So northern mountains, there are three major mountain ranges in the north, which you would see as, you can see, you have the Karakoram range, which is here. Then you have the Himalayas, which are coming from a very long place. They have the arch that they make goes into India, it goes into Nepal as well. It has a long route that it carries, and the Karakoram range is a border, a natural border, as we had talked earlier, with China, and there's some parts that go into India as well. And then we have the Hindu Kush mountain, which make a border line over here with Afghanistan, and the indirectly with the old USSR, which is now making up the Russian states, the broken up Russian states. Now we start off with the Karakoram range. Now the certain things that you need to know about the Karakoram range is, for all the ranges rather, is you need to know their height, how high they are, I'm very sorry. Then you need to know about their highest peak. Then you need to know their expanse कि कितना expanded है, कितना किस area को ये cover करता है, and any other name or any different name that has been given can be asked as not necessary. This is can be asked as a 1 mark question, or instead of asking you Karakoram, it can be asked a mark the black gravel region of Pakistan. So that means you have to talk about the Karakoram range. Now Karakoram range, as you see, the expanse, this is the expanse we are talking about, stretching from Hunza to Shayok. That means it is going into China. The average height is around 6,000 meters, and the highest peak is K2, Karakoram 2, as it is also known as, and this is the highest peak in Pakistan, second highest peak in the world. So this again holds a very important as far as maybe tourism is concerned, for the people who love to climb mountains, the mountaineers who come from all over the world, especially from Europe, when they want to conquer these peaks. So so K2 is one of the, it is the highest peak in Pakistan and the second highest peak in the world. Now, how do we define the Karakoram range? When we are talking about Karakoram range, there are certain physical features that this range has. Like, I have a face. Like, I have eyes and nose and lips and ears. So that is on my face. These make up my physical features. In the same way, the mountains also have certain features which are almost common in all of them, which includes valleys, cliffs. They talk about the glaciers. They talk about the snow-capped mountains. And all of these are part of the Karakoram range. And as I already said, it is the highest. And then Khunjra Pass is the link that leads into China. What else we have? Again, it is part of the characteristics, the physical features. It has rivers, River Hunza, River Gilgit, and Karakoram, that come from the melting of the ice. The snow-capped mountains are all there, and when the ice melts, they make small rivers which eventually join in to make the major river of Pakistan, and that is the Indus. They flow into these, make up these smaller tributaries, and they join in. Now Karakoram range holds a very, again, is very important when we are talking about glaciers, because it holds the most important glaciers of Pakistan. One of them is also a war zone, which is Siachen. Siachen is the highest war grounds in the world. This is and it is a glacier. Then Hispar, Biafo, Baltoro, Batura, these are those big glaciers that make up this whole around region around the K2. And Karakoram, Hunza, these become again the important valleys around the Karakoram range. Now, climatic characteristics. As I said, that while we are talking about the topography, if you will be able to understand a lot of things if you understand the placement of these. So climatic characteristics of these regions, the Karakoram range, as well as we'll be reading about the further ranges also. The characteristics of the northern mountains are more or less similar, which include very severe cold climate, which is like way below freezing point. And then you have the daily change into the weather. Excuse me, the daily change into the weather is drastic, from blizzards at one moment to snowfall at another, and then suddenly it becomes sunny as well. And then due to these changes, drastic changes in the daily weather, there are strong avalanches that are experienced. There's a difference between the climate. The difference in the heat index is different when it is under the sun and if it is under the shade. And then there is a very, again, as we just talked about, there are frequent blizzards. You can have blizzards anytime, any moment. There's no, they are not defined, they are not predictable, they just come. So you can say the temperatures vary, there are blizzards, there are landslides, which can be because of avalanches, and then again they could be because of the melting of the snow. Now, how does this climate over here affect the ranges or these mountains? The vegetation is affected most of all because of these sudden changes into the climate, and then there's snow covered. Obviously, it is hard to have something sustainable as far as agriculture is concerned. People are supposed to stay home most of the time because then there are very few outdoor activities that they can begin because of these, specifically because of these two things, that is the blizzards and the landslides. And then they indulge in their these small cottage industries, making carpets and wooden hats. If you visit, you would see them in their markets. Stoles and shawls and handmade shawls and embroidery is very common over there. Then most of the time it is usually considered as between around 7 to 8 months around the year. These are cut off from the regular and general for general public because of the snow. And then people need to stock up a lot for their sustenance, not only fuel and wood, but fuel and food as well. Now, over the passage of time, it is seen that people have started to move southwards during the very strong winter months, because living in these cold quarters becomes very, very difficult, and because it is dangerous as well. And if you look at it, if you look at just looking at this picture, you would see this whole expanse, and you will not see a lot of population here because it is almost impossible to live in these kind of climatic conditions. Next, we have the Himalayas. The climatic conditions that we talked about in the Karakoram range can easily be associated or attributed to the Himalayas as well, because of the similar kind of terrain, the similar kind of topography, and similar kind of the climate that you face over there. K2 being the highest peak in the Karakoram range, Nanga Parbat is the second highest peak in Pakistan, third highest peak in the world, belongs to the Himalayan ranges. The first one that is also part of the Himalayan ranges, that is the Mount Everest. What we attribute to the Himalayas is that it is in stages. It is now, if you look, it's like an arch which is coming to from Nepal and from India, and this is how it starts to go down. And when it is coming towards the end, this which is known as the foothills, the end of the Himalayan ranges is part of Pakistan, and which is further divided into sub-parallel ranges that we will talk about, which is called as the Siwaliks, Lesser Himalayas, and the Central Himalayas, and the foothills of the Himalayas. So Central Himalaya regions, then we have the Nanga Parbat, which is called the Naked Mountain. It is one of the most dangerous mountains to climb because of its strange kind of physical structure. Very famous of the this Himalayan ranges is the Naran Kagan, which is, and the Sefal Maluk Lake, which is towards the ends of the Himalayan ranges. Now, as you can see it over here, the sub-parallel ranges. This is the Siwaliks, which you must have been to Murray or heard about it. So, and we have the Margalas, which become the foothills of the Himalayas. That is the end where the Himalayas are coming to an end. So you can see the Rawalpindi is, you have the Margala, and some bits of these make up the Siwaliks, which are towards the end. Then you have the lesser Himalayas, which are moving towards, you can see it over here, the slightly above the Siwaliks are the lesser or the outer Himalayas, which move towards the, as you can, it's written over here, Aptabad and Mansehra region, and you can see it is slightly better as far as the climatic conditions are concerned, because if you have visited Aptabad, if you have visited Nathia Gali, Koda Gali or Murray, you would see it's easy. These are easy in terms of approach, these are easy in terms of traveling, and you will see a lot of tourism happening there around the year because of its easy access. Next, what we have here is the central Himalayan ranges, which is the main Himalayan regions, which are around the river Indus. So river Indus is also coming in from the central Himalayas. They are like the most important glacier over here is the Ropal, as compared to the Karakoram, which we talked about. We had Siachen, we had Baltoro, we had the Hispar. So this has one big glacier, which is the Ropal. Important, as you can see over here, is the Nanga Parbat, and a very, very famous lake that you have is the Sefal Maluk. Next is the Hindu Kush. Hindu Kush has a history to its name as well. This was the mountain range from where most of the invaders had entered Pakistan, and it is towards the west of the Karakoram as well as the Himalayas, and it is a natural guard, as we had seen earlier in one of the slides, that it acts as a natural border, acts as a natural barrier for to stop the invaders from a direct attack. So it's not open. So it is towards the west. The average height is around 5,000 meters. Now it has this is an exam question, favorite exam question. You need to learn these, where the placement of these passes: Shandur Pass, Lowari Pass, Babusar Pass. Now these are all inland passes. That means they are within the country. So these are passes from between the mountains, in the mountains. So then there are passes which are on the borders, which is the Khyber one becomes the most important one. So looking at this, and see, this makes a borderline with Afghanistan also. Yeah. So let me rub this so it makes it a little clear. So this is an exam based question where you can be asked, identify the pass A or identify the pass B. So you need to make your own, like I make divisions like these to mark alongside with the curves and ebbs of the map. We talk about like ये अंदर की तरफ जा रहा है तो यहाँ पे लोअरी पास होगा, उसके नीचे it's going to be, so you may need to make your own little learning points how you do it, but most importantly you need to learn these. And as far as the tips for this is concerned, that this is a learning based question. Then the highest peak, as we've been talking about, Karakoram में हमारे पास K2 थी, Himalayas में हमारे पास नांगा पर्वत है, and then in the Hindu Kush we have the Trichmir, and Trichmir becomes the highest peak. Here you would see all the important names of the passes that we just talked about, and then we have some very important valleys in terms of tourism, in terms of trade, in terms of natural borderline cities with Afghanistan are concerned, which makes it the Chitral, we have the Dir, and then we have the Sawat. These are some of the western tributaries for the Indus, which eventually join the Indus River. So these are known as the western tributaries. Now, why these make up the drainage as well. So when we are talking about the rivers in the northern mountains and the northwestern mountains, they are the ones that are responsible for the drainage. Now, drainage means how the water is supplied to these regions. The top of the northern mountains, the northwestern mountains, they are mostly snow covered, they are snow capped, so the drainage is coming from the snow, and the rivers that the snow is creating, as you can see, it's written over here, precipitation in the form of snow, which eventually does melt to make up streams, waterfalls, channels, which eventually make a river. And which river are we talking about over here? We are talking about the river Indus. As I'm explaining, I would remember that you need to learn these locations, you need to learn these positions, so that it is like mathematics, like these mental maths. You have to have it corrected. You get your score. There's nothing that can take away the score from you. These are mental maths for geography, you can say. So that it's like 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. You need to learn them in that way. Okay. Living in these mountain regions makes the lifestyle of the people very different from the people living in plains. We living in plains have a different kind of a movement, a lifestyle, but these people they have a very extreme climate, and becomes very hostile, or you can say inhospitable. It's not very welcoming. Very little grazing areas, so they are reduced to small terrace farmings, which is just known as the sustenance farming, also sustainable farming as well, which they only grow certain things that are easily grown within a short period of time, and then that will give them the grains which they can store for a longer period of time, such as the wheat, the maize, and potato being a very easy crop to grow in various times of the year. And you can see all of these are grains from which the flour can be made, and from there further their food can be processed. But what is very common there is the fruits. You get the best fruits in these mountains. The apricots, the khubani as you call, peaches, Aloo Bukhara, which is the plum, cherry, apple, they are absolutely beautiful in colors, fresh, and they are very, very juicy as well, and they are yummy, actually yummy. And then further, the same way they have a whole process of making them into dry fruits, and the whole dry fruit throughout the south part of Pakistan, the dry fruit that we get is coming from the northern mountains. So this it becomes this drying up of the dry fruit and processing the fruit has become a part of their daily life as well, and that is also a form of their earning. Most of the time people, as we already discussed, during winters they need to stay at home. कोई कभी blizzard आ गया, कभी snowfall हो गई है तो रास्ते बंद हो गए हैं, जा नहीं सकते आगे. ये मरी में भी कभी कभी हो जाता है कि आपके एकदम से snowfall हो जाती है और रास्ता बंद हो जाता है. स्नो जब तक वो बड़ा सा बिग बुलडोजर का एम्प्टी नहीं करेगा तो आपकी सड़क जो है वो ब्लॉक ही रहेगी. सो व्हाट दे डू इज पीपल व्हाट दे डू इज दैट दे हैव अडॉप्टेड देमसेल्व्स टू सम स्मॉल इंडस्ट्री. वो सारी विंटर्स जब अपना छोटा सा फूड की रिजर्व्स और चीज़ें लेके बंद हुए होते हैं, सो दे हैव इंडल्ज्ड देमसेल्व्स इनटू सम कॉटेज इंडस्ट्रीज जिसके अंदर कार्पेट मेकिंग है, शॉल मेकिंग है, एम्ब्रॉयडरी है, स्मॉल लिटिल handicraft that you would see. And then there is during the summers जो थोड़ा सा month होते हैं, they get their share of tourism as well. And the livestock that they have is usually centered alongside for their family needs only. Now, importance. Why are these northern mountains really important for us? Is because they are the main source. They are the main source of water to the river Indus. This has a connecting point to our neighboring countries, especially China, through the Karakoram border, the Silk Route, and on one side the Khyber Pass, which takes us into the Central Asia and into Afghanistan. The Karakoram and the Silk Route takes us into China. It is again, as we talked about, a natural guard which somehow the other holds a barrier from the Central Asians. And then because of the water supply over there in terms of snowfall, the rivers and things, and then the huge mountains which are the bed for minerals, we find the most valuable minerals. We have these amazing stones that you have coming in, जिसको हम rubies कहते हैं, like this is this little one, this is a ruby that is from the mountains. And then you have all other stones that are coming from the gemstones इनकी हम बात करते हैं, वो सारे हमारे जिसमें emerald है, opal है, ruby है, feroza है, all these are coming, these are the minerals coming there. And then again we have the timber, wood, दरख्त जिनसे हमारा मेजरली फर्नीचर बन रहा है और सारी आपकी केमिकल इंडस्ट्री बेस करती है इसके ऊपर. And then this is the beautiful scenery that attracts the tourism over there. So I'm sure you might have seen some parts of a north, maybe Murray and further on, Naran, Kagan, Hunza, Gilgit. Now these are developing to become tourist spots as well. And then this Central Asia up here is very cold. So it keeps sending these cold winds, sorry, not waves. And these mountains make us a natural climatic barrier which stop these winds from entering into Pakistan and save the rest of us from freezing, which the Central Asia itself is freezing into. So these are the importance of the northern mountains, which you can relate to as far as this is an exam question as well. You have to explain, which will make it a 6 marks question. Discuss, will make it a 4 marks question. And what will make it a 2 marks question. So 6 marks question will need at least 4 points. with an explanation. 4 marks would need again 3 points, which will talk about not explanation, a detailed explanation, but a labeling with it. And what you can just talk about this or this, because the marks are just 2. So we have talked about the importance of the northern mountains, and we will take a little break and then continue any further.